Hello and welcome back to the Unified Collegiate Championship Wildcard Tournament. We just got done with the first map here between the Niners and the Roadrunners. It was a 7-4 victory for UTSA on their opponent of North Carolina, Charlotte's map pick. My name is Nicola. I'm here with Chief. Coming into Villa, things could get a little hectic. We all know how the classic college map tends to play.
I mean, it is a map that we always see teams get aggressive, and we always see teams make adaptations to deal with that aggression, Reese, which was the theme of what we saw on Bank. UNCC would bring out a strategy, Tulsa would be able to counter that, and we had this beautiful back and forth, kind of like this ping pong match where eventually UTSA would be able to overcome. Again, a strong, dominant performance. And the thing with UTSA is everybody is doing their job. Everybody is clicking heads in. Even GOAT, who is quote-unquote struggling to find kills, was doing more than what they needed to because they were always opening up the wall. I don't think I've ever seen a hard breacher with that much efficiency. I think GOAT opened up every single thing imaginable. They always had their exothermics used up, and they weren't impact tricked.
One thing we always talk about is that idea of doing your job. It basically just means kind of fulfilling your role and your responsibilities. I think mainly it's on the context of the attackers, right? Because things are a little bit more outlined in terms of a clear progression of what you need to do. You need to open a wall, or you need to clear a roam. There's a piece of utility you need to get rid of. And UTSA, their attacks looked excellent. Their defenses were pretty good as well, though. Ton was just a monster. He was let off the leash. UNCC could not hold him down. This is something they will need to correct here on Villa, but that's more so a conversation for the second half. When Ton is on the attack, he will play with the rest of the squad. He gets on that sledge, he blows people up, he's chasing in after drones, and he will score those entry pickups. I think the best thing for UNCC, hello Stryden, is for them to be able to get in control of that early game, that opening kill, and don't allow it to get traded out.
Is Baby Chaz new?
Yeah.
Okay.
What happened to Angel?
Yeah, what happened to Angel? Okay. My brain has just went through the meat grinder for a second. My 3 brain cells died because I was about to talk about Angel, Matcha, and Strided being equally as impactful as Ton. Because, sure, Ton dropped 16, but Matcha, Angel, and Strided were basically there with them, too. They were equally as important, particularly Angel, which was the player that had almost the same amount of opening kills as Ton, or Messiah, presently. And now Angel's gone, Jazzy Baby is here to play, and, man, I don't know what this is going to do to the UTSA roster, because they looked like they were so in sync. Now you have a new entity, a new player, and man, that could throw you on top of your head.
Yeah, I mean, this could totally change the way things are played here. I did manage to talk to the homie Miggs, who is a friend of the program of UTSA, and he said Jazzy Baby is the sub. Angel had to go to do T2 warm-ups. So they're unavailable, and we'll have somebody step in on the replacement here for this remainder of the wildcard game is my assumption, and we'll see how things play out for a UTSA over clear. Getting Master, making sure that UNCC aren't trying to put anything in front of them. Rogue is still holding on to a deployable, so maybe the alibi is waiting to figure out what the pressure will be, and as soon as they realize it's coming from Master, they'll drop that deployable down.
I mean, we've certainly seen that a few times in Collegiate. Whenever they realize that the pressure is taking place, they'll just put the shield to deal with that. Now, hopefully that's the case, because we've also seen some Collegiate teams pocket shields for the duration of the round, and then they ended up never using them, but it has been placed. So it's all fine and dandy there. UTSA clearing out the map. They have established their flank as well. So it's going to be the air jab coupled with a flank drone just to make sure that any members of UNCC, if they get aggressive, well, they're going to be monitored the entire way, and they're not going to be able to get away with that aggression.
Well, from a defensive setup that really hasn't put too much problems in front of the Roadrunners so far, they do seem to be kind of moving a little slow. Now control of 90 is on the horizon. Link has a C4, but he's playing more inside of the objective than any vertical pressure below, which might look to cause some trouble for this acquisition of 90. Air jabs will come down. Matcha just wants to make sure nobody's going to come up and flank her, and so the utility burn will connect through the AV door. Messiah looking onward, seeing if he might be able to collect one on the deep. You still have Rogue inside study. If we don't see a UTSA member rotate, there is one out on the veranda, things could get a little funky.
Seen shotguns be so important for defending teams. UNCC is going to line up their shotgun close to the door, so if UTSA gets particularly aggressive, they should be able to deny it. But the shotgun's not the only wrinkle to defend the door frames. You also have a player playing underneath. That was Malusi, that was Kyle, so it's a two-pronged defense to deny the door, and fortunately, that crossfire is going to be one of the best deterrents for UTSA, Reese. There's 30 seconds left, and they're still stuck in the door, and they've yet to be able to push forward.
Kind of hovering around the possibility of this here. Link still has that C4. He will actually start to inch his way forward. Another Toxic Babe comes forward. Matcha tries to go deep, but dead to the vertical below. Ton on the trade is quickly put to rest by the success of the Toxic Babe. Jazzy Baby will shoot the C4 out of midair. Can't seem to find a place where he will not suffer from the toxic gas. Jazzy will go down. It's an easy finisher. UNCC Blue fills the kill feed, and they will close down on Aviator.
What a wild round for UTSA. That did not look like the UTSA that we saw back on Bank. They were discombobulated. They lacked communication. The way that you can see that by the way that they ended up pushing in through the bomb site. Did you notice that they kept trying to plant over the foot level, or the murder holes created in the floor? Nobody from UTSA was clearly communicating that, because if they did, they would have tried to plant somewhere else. A toxic gas grenades for UNCC did probably over 200 hit points of damage collectively to members of UTSA. They pushed through one door frame, Reese, and that door frame was being monitored by so many different positions that UTSA just kind of got turned into a meat grinder and converted into tacos.
That was not a great round, and it's it's entirely on behalf of UTSA for just being a little slow. I mean, they were really cautious with how they took control of the far side of the map when there really wasn't any kind of extension that they should have worried about. Things are moving on into the future now, and we have got a defensive living room library. Not the most popular strategy, not the most popular objective. These collegiate teams really, they will show it to us once in a while, but they don't really try to play this every single day. The main thing about this side is you need to hold the vertical. It's mandatory. If you lose the vertical, you pretty much lost the round unless you've wasted, so many bodies, so much utility, and so much time.
The only time we see this bomb site is if Grand Canyon and Alabama Huntsville are playing. That's the only time this bomb site ever seems to be played, and then you're just like, oh, yep, we're just never going to see Trophy. And to be fair, I do understand why teams are fearful of Trophy as a site, because if you're going against a team that is very comfortable on a kind of a linear attack just purely through Master, they can open up triple wall, have lines of sights, and cut you off into the bomb site relatively quickly. And here, Living Room Library, at least you force teams to go for a full map clear, but that just assumes that you have the appropriate reinforcements, and UNCC has at least different reinforcements than what we normally see, and I think UTSA knows it. I think they're just going to go for a sledgehammer plant. They just have to clear out some portions of the map first.
Not been so hot in terms of that opening kill this time. It's UNCC, who are often finding themselves in the lead. And your Zofia, one of those crucial breaching operators, is down for the count in the early days. Yeti onto a second one. There goes the Nomad up above, and now things really start to become worrisome for UTSA. Their horizontal pressure not working out in the best of ways so far. Rogue having some difficulty getting any of those players to stay maneuver through the piano hallway, and now into the site itself. It's unable to lock out Kyle Pog playing from behind the bookshelf. The bomb coming down as well here, and Rogue unable to really do much. The Echo Yokai drones could be enough to stop the plant. It's not there in time. The Yokai was too slow on that roll back through, and Jazzy Baby, the sub, trying to come into this situation and really prove that they can fill the shoes of Angel. It's Tun who will strike now to make it a second.
Yeti crashing with his teammates to try to find that diffuser. They know it's planted somewhere close. Be able to get it, you have to remove Messiah. They fall, and Ace potentially for Yeti, but they lose that engagement, and poor Jazzy Baby. 2 gun barrels trying to find them. They lose their life in the process. TB will get an easy defuse, and honestly, I'm surprised that UTSA didn't plant sooner. The bomb site was free, and they just kind of got eaten alive by the MP5K of Rogue.
I like it. I like the idea of just going quick and trying to get in for that control, but ultimately they lost so many people early that it kind of caused them to slow down. I think they should have just probably put all 5 of them in towards a rush for the site. We saw they did rush earlier on that open area objective. It didn't work. It gave a free round to UNCC. So far, the attacks of the Roadrunners not looking as spirited as they were on the earlier map of Bank, and certainly lacking some of that skeleton, that form that they used to such a great level of effectiveness in our initial map. Going to Dining Kitchen with the Living Room Library defensive victory out of the way. We'll see what the other tertiary objective looks like.
More first floor. I'm excited to see this, Reese. Now, I'm probably more excited to see what UTSA is going to do. Are they going to push from above? Are they going to swing that sledgehammer, remove the floorboards, a story that we all know? Or are they going to do what they did the previous round? Find the hole, push directly into the bomb site, go for the plant, and hope that their post plant is good enough. Honestly, I can see UTSA going either direction. Their roster, especially back on Bank, that was very capable of going for the full clear or more for the linear take. And honestly, as we see more reinforcements and deployable shields top side, it might be an opportunity for you to go for more of a direct push.
There are, those risks and rewards of the different takes. The top floor pressure, generally when you start out on the top, and on the below take as well, you don't get as much early contention. It's a little different than Bank, which feels like, any entry point you take, there will be that slight chance you're just going to have a defender somewhere. Messiah on the early days will take control of Art Studio. UTSA are going to pursue that horizontal option that we discussed, and so they will push in through all of the relevant areas. The defense do have at least maybe some attention being paid to it. It looked like there was maybe one defender's blue highlight inside of that living room area. In fact, there it is. Playing behind the half wall will be the Malusi. Link starting to rotate out. They will make the escape, but into the open hallway is not really a friendly area to be. The cutoff is there, and Link taking so much damage, really between a rock and a hard place right now. Forced to sprint right into the waiting arms of Stryden. It's the Finka to lead us off.
UTSA used 3 attackers there to pinch Link, and Link was just not long for the world. They even had help from Rogue, but they were recalled because they realized that the 1v3 crossfire was just too much, and Link would just have to play time there. Bad position to be in. UTSA is going to find the opening kill, Reese, and now they're going to go for what they tried to do back in Living Room Library, a direct take, but they have to be very mindful of where their attackers are playing, because Striden's taking damage from the red stairs. This is a byproduct of not pushing that topmost floor. It allows the defenders to kind of walk down the stairwells and maybe take gunfights that members of UTSA just simply won't be prepared for. And also, did you notice a player, Kyle Pog, in split right now? This is another angle that UNCC can deny access to the bomb site with.
Got a couple different options here, and realistically, UTSA are going to be hard-pressed to find their way forward. It's Tun who's down in the meanwhile. Tried that solo pressure through jail. It didn't work out for the sledge, and so with him removed, back goes the equality in terms of that opening kill. This is really not going too hot for UTSA. Wow. Matcha and Stryden will jump up and help to fill out this situation. Stryden taking some damage to the player in the back of the kitchen, not able to complete that fight, and so a grenade will roll forward. TB seeing if he can make the adjustment through China, does not complete the kill onto Goat People, and the Zofia will in turn go ahead and shoot the Finka. Things still going relatively well here, but Rogue now on the cutback from the pantry, looking for a 1 versus 2, but all the angles, all the bullets coming out of that Nomad from over by Big Ben. It's the attackers finally to pick up 1.
Was waiting for Matcha to establish that cutoff from Big Ben, and there it is. UTSA defines the round based on crossfires. They pinched out Lynx early on from 3 different angles, and that just continues on throughout the round, and the first kill goes that direction, and the second kill as well. And sure, you had some solo superhuman plays, like to call them, from Tun Messiah pushing in through bike or jail by themselves, but it was once again UTSA coming together for a common goal to push site directly. And we talked about back on Bank, sure, everybody wants to point fingers at Messiah being one of the best players presently in the Collegiate ecosystem, but when they're dead, everybody from UTSA, including the substitute Jazzy Baby, is capable of coming together and finding those kills. Now it's an opportunity to replicate what we just saw back in Kitchen here on Plains and Games, Reese. We've seen this bomb site once before, and honestly, it was a horrendous attack from UTSA. They all fatal funneled through the north door of the B bomb site. They got shut down by shotguns. They got shut down by MP5s below the foot level holes. The smoke toxic gas grenades asphyxiated them. It was a terrible scenario for UTSA to be in, Reese, and they need to be much more adaptable and dynamic going into their next attack of Plains and Games.
Yeah, that attack just really, it was kind of languishing. It was initially pretty slow with the take. You kind of need your cutoff drones to be in position over by this master area, because if you don't, things are going to move slowly. Never mind that, though. It's not going to be relevant here in round number 4. Texas San Antonio are going to go for more of that study pressure rather than the overtake. And Rogue will be likely the first defender in any kind of serious contest here. Zero steps in, but it's Rogue who strikes in on that early bout. Matcha goes down, and you're Zero to die before really barely getting to step in through the front door. Means that a lot of those Argus cameras, your main flank watch component, have gone to waste.
I don't know if it's just me, Reese, but UNCC feels so much more confident, and I think that's being demonstrated in their opening kills, right? We saw UTSA have all but one opening kill back on Bank, and now UNCC is taking so many early engagements and making them work for them.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of a shock to see them play so forward, so aggressive in all these different areas, and despite somebody like Rogue being on so low HP, they are playing with much less fear and giving their opponent much less respect and authority. Rogue starting to slip down the stairs, probably heard the pin be pulled by the sledge, and now spots the hand. Surely Messiah. Ton just simply wasn't expecting that, and a triple kill already on the cards here for the Alibi. The ineffectiveness of UTSA on this Aviator side has never been more clear.
The dude's at 3 HP, man. Just find him there, and they simply can't. UTSA gets smoked in the process. Rogue finds 4 kills. Reese, in the first engagement, Matcha, they put Rogue on, what we'll call it, 12 HP? And nobody shot Rogue after that? They find 3 additional kills? UNCC sets up a strong defense, and UTSA just looks incredibly sloppy.
That was just, I mean, the difference between these two rosters, the one that we had for San Antonio on the first map and now here on Villa, they look like totally two different beings. And it's so strange. You know, you could say this could easily be explained by the phenomena of the Collegiate special being at work here. But it's also, I think, worth mentioning, UTSA, okay, don't have Angel. As much as Angel, wasn't really playing any sort of superstar roles, usually you look to UTSA's duo of Ton and Strident. If we go back to Bank, Angel had the opening kill, 3 times in the first half. And a lot of when that happened, it didn't get traded because Angel was playing really smart in terms of positioning. Jazzy Baby is on a different role and has not had near the same level of effectiveness in that early days fighting, and Ton looked like he's having some impact from that as well, because he's not at his, double digits when we're still in round number 7, situation.
But it's not just the Angel Jazzy Baby dynamic that's changed roles. Goat People was the primary support. They're now on technically the secondary entry. That's what Zofia is considered. Well, maybe not anymore with Finka being in the play, but still, they're one of the entry ops nonetheless. And they're not really performing on the entry as well as they probably should. So it's been 3 players essentially that have their roles changed by this dynamic. And it's interesting. I also wonder if Angel was an IGL, because UTSA on Bank and UTSA on Villa is playing very different. You can see the lack of communication by the way that they fatal funnel, and I wonder if Angel was that central leadership that helped guide UTSA, particularly on the attack.
Quite possible. Rogue under a lot of pressure. We saw how successful this player was in the previous. Does not expect Matcha to have stepped deep. Oh no, though. Kyle Pog will slip in to again nullify that opening battle. And your flank watcher, your key attacking monitor of what the defense are doing away from the site, is another early death. And things are just not going so well for UTSA. You might be right. I think it's a perfectly reasonable expectation to think maybe Angel was the IGL, was the one calling the shots here, because things have broken down on the second map.
Utility from below is going to be so darn important, Reese. The grenades can remove so many crucial bits of defending utility. A mute jammer on a wall from Kyle Pog, no problem. Well-placed grenades should be able to remove that mute chamber. But you'd have to be very mindful of where you place that grenade, because if you put it too close to the east, well, you're going to be removing a mute jammer and also the X-Cairo pellets that you've already put in the field. And Jazzy Baby only has 6 in reserve, so it's not going to be quite enough. But thankfully, the kill from Strident is going to take the burden away from the UTSA attack just a little bit more. Goat people in an awkward position, though. They're going to have to either leave this spot, and they're trying to get Nitrocell.
No!
The Mouse 1 LMG does not find a kill miraculously.
That was just a biblical thing happening there over by the master door. Kyle Pog waiting on that 1.5x angle, but Ton will beat him into the punch. And UTSA's Ton finish off yet one more, as they will finally start to put a couple of rounds into the bank here. And the statue attack, despite a slow-going start, does eventually correct course for the finisher there. Only 1 round left in this first half, and it could honestly go either way.
For Ton, Reese, I think Ton... Why we obviously aren't questioning his mechanical skills. I think Ton is a smarter player than people give him credit for. And he always seems to be in the right place at the right time, holding the right angle. How often is Ton actually getting shot back at? They always seem to have, like, perfect game sense to get kills where members of the offense or defense just simply don't know that they're in a gunfight.
I don't even know how to really explain that situation there. But, guess we'll see how Living Room Library plays out the second time. The first go-around, UTSA did not fight for the vertical. They lost because of that. They tried to go direct into the side, and things were just chaos. There was people pouring in from the wall, from the door, going into lobby. There was somebody running back from the living room. It just really was a chaotic mess. And UTSA, they tried to skip steps just like they tried to skip around the open area vertical extension back on the previous map of Bank. And I don't think they're going to try to do that again. It would be kind of a foolhardy maneuver.
I just want UTSA to read the room better, right? They could have rushed. Honestly, it would have worked. They just couldn't. They just don't show yourself to the south stairwell. Like that's the win condition, Reese. Honestly, if Rogue doesn't spot you, you push in through closet and you go for the same plant because it's free. Just don't expose yourself, and it's freelo. Because look at where UNCC is. They're once again not defending the bomb site. Just don't show your toesies to Rogue.
Well, here we have it again. We'll see how this one pans out in the second try. All of the walls still on this eastern side have been left soft, and Messiah starts to step on forward. They are very cautious about this study stairs position, and so Ton will begin to make his entry, running forward, checking. Oh no, it's Rogue yet again. Still this stairs phenom. Goat people on the trade, but Strident dead in his own right. A 4 versus 2 here. Jazzy Baby successful in the plant. Rogue collapses onto Matcha. It's only Jazzy Baby left, but this time it's a 1 versus 4, and Jazz can't even get the shot onto the first player again. UTSA skipping steps, try to go direct, try to go quick. It won't work, and UCC have their 4-2 half.
Reese, did I not just say you could rush, you could push site directly if you don't expose yourself to Rogue? And what did UTSA do? They exposed themselves to Rogue, and they died. That was the freest plant of UTSA's career. It was so free that it actually worked again. And nobody from UNCC was capable of denying it. Unless Rogue found kills. The only way to find kills if you're exposed to the stairwell. It's this weird circular fallacy that UTSA just did not understand, which is disappointing because they set themselves up. They have a brilliant drone, and they just, I guess, put themselves in the wrong position. It was frustrating to see because UTSA had a brilliant attack twice, and they kind of foiled it because they want to take gunfights. You know, it's just sometimes the way it is in Rainbow Six Siege. You just have to be very cautious of the gunfights that you take. You never want to enter into a 180 crossfire, and Rogue was setting that up.
Both tries of the Living Room Library, not a flattering show of UTSA on the offense, and they, if had been a little better prepared, could have been the team in the advantage towards the second half. No, I don't know, maybe the dry runs on the offense haven't gone so well. Maybe the scrims have not really been too fortuitous in terms of, you know, their ability to attack onto Living Room Library, you're not really going to be scrimming that objective a lot. You're not really going to be practicing a ton of your takes on that site. And unfortunately, UTSA will trail, but for the Niners, things are feeling pretty good for them right now. They've started to feel out their own play style. They are seeing themselves perform much better. They're not being as isolated by that, that entry power that we saw from Ton and Angel on the first map. Now Rogue goes down as well. I
Frogbat.
don't even know how that happened. Oh, there it is. Another frog. Another frog mat.
Frogbat.
Frog. Oh my gosh.
That's a vicious frog. It has to be a poison dart frog if it's doing that much damage. Fortunately, though, Rogue is going to be able to find the antidote, and they're going to be able to go back up to 20 HP. Now, they won't be able to go DBNO, but if you had a Finka per se, you could be able to heal yourself back up. Not the case, though, so Rogue is going to be relegated now to 20 HP for the remainder of this round. Not a comfortable spot to be in, but at least they're alive, and that's very important. A bad upside-down repel, Yeti has to be much more smart about where they put their head. Messiah is collecting those, though, right, left, and center, and Goat People tags onto as well. Messiah loses their deployable shield, and they're going to hightail it away. Goat falls in the vertical, and Tons lurk upstairs is just so darn crazy that UNCC can't do anything about it. The one tap cleans it up. Reese Tun is, oh my, is an animal.
He's back to his old things again. 4K on a Frost with a 9mm C1. Every player just solo walking into that. Eventually they clear the shield, but you still needed utility on that position, and UTSA will just finish that round out, the quickest one in a single player's position that we've had so far, and just UTSA go in and clean up, and Ton is doing ton things there. Oh, UNCC, that's not really the way you wanted to start off the rotation. They didn't even get to the site.
No, they got shut down upstairs, and wow, that was a treat again from UTSA. Now, they're going to go to a different bump site because they had the luxury of winning the last one. Over to Platons and Games, and UTSA's offense here was, as we called it earlier, horrendous. They're going to be doing things differently than UNCC. Bring out the brand new reworked Goyo shield. So the Vulcan canister is no longer attached to a deployable shield. Instead, they're just canisters. And you get 4 of them for 20 seconds of time now per canister. If you place them in the right spot, for example, next to the north door that UTSA's offense was funneling through, well, all of a sudden, the 3 door frames that are on Planes and Games can become quite difficult to push through, especially when you have to go through hell and high water.
Well, there's a Warden pick. Not really the most popular operator when you think of Villa defenders, but Stryden will bring that in, try to use the glance goggles as well as Warden. He's got a couple pretty good things for him. Decent gun with a good optic and a deployable shield. I mean, that's really enough to make an operator viable in the current meta where we are, because it's just a lot of fights being taken. And when you look at Aviator, a lot of times the site is going to end with a flurry of flashbangs and smokes being tossed through. Being able to see through those flashes and be unaffected by the stuns, it's not a half bad deal.
Rogue's leading the charge, though, when they're going to charge straight into Stryden, who falls. They also know that they're kind of compromised. Sure, you're able to deal with the 90 pressure, but now you have to deal with Hun Messiah. On the red stairs, they have barbed wire, deployable shield, and most likely will my pancakes aplenty to make sure that shield is not removed. Honestly, it's an excellent opportunity for UNCC to just push from 2 different fronts. Or you can use your Habana X Cairo pellets to create a line of sight to bird utility. That's a brilliant read right there. Unfortunately, the synchronization of utility was not exactly what it should be, and precious flashbangs and grenades were lost to the ADS of my pancake combination. One just detonated, though, and I think that actually found its mark. You can kind of see the blast radius from it. But Messiah's still here, not actually removed. They find their 10th kill, and they're like, nope, not playing on Reddit anymore. They hightail it back to the bomb site.
Not exactly double digits in round number 7, but they will make it in 10. In the meanwhile, Rogue goes down, but not until Goat People, the Jaeger, had perished. Things moving at kind of a snail's pace right now for UNCC. They need to recover. Still a 3 versus 3 here. Nothing too much to worry about. Yeti taking some damage. Tried to force the issue between the Goyo and the Wamai. Down at the end of the classical hallway. And UNCC What are they going to do to try to counter over this? They do not have any remaining range destruction. So clearing out this deployable is going to become just about impossible. I'd say it's realistic to assume they're just not going to push over by that AV side. And you see the rotation. Yeti below has caught out Ton, finally putting an end to the Wamai's 2-round killing streak. But Matcha trying to step up, taming that recoil on a long fight.
Yeah, you still got Goyo Vulcan canisters in play, man. That's 20 seconds of time to now. In 7 seconds, you can crack them on the door frames, and UNCC is just not going to push unless they're going to take fire damage. Jazzy Baby finds one, but you still have Giddy coming in from behind. The Nitro Cell is good for its mark. No, it's a bit short, and the low HP Jazzy now forced to go to the handgun. They're the last one left for their roster, and TB is in sight. But why would you challenge? TB is able to clutch up a huge misplay. You needed to play time. You had the diffuser, my friend. And oh, the substitute, a critical error. UNCC is going to get gifted the round.
Oh, that one is just totally bungled there. Had everything going. Got the shot with the pistol. Totally stopped up the take by the classical side. The vault, it's just a careless decision. And ultimately cost them what should have been an easy 1 versus 2 close down there. They're going to repeat it. UTSA say that was not really how Aviator was supposed to play out, I suppose. We'll go back there again. Let's see if they can make any changes. First off, they're going to drop the Goya. They're not going to need him, they say. They'll step the Wamai into the lineup as your main kind of operator to sort out any kind of burn, with Jaeger being absent from the composition as well. And now that you have Jazzy Baby freed up, they will go over to the Aruni, which is further going to add to that wasting of utility that UNCC have to pass over.
Why would you drop the Goyo? If the Goyo detonated in the final moments of that round, it would have been a completely different round. It is what it is, though, and again, Goyo is quite a powerful operator, but I don't think that's going to have quite the impact that we would expect it to have, because why not bring a Jaeger again? Look at what Hun was able to do on the red stairs. They single-handedly wasted an entire flashbang set and an entire grenade set with the available Wamai pancakes. Now, to be fair, I guess you can subsidize that with Aruni gates now, but still, it's not exactly the same thing, and the Aruni gates can be dismantled by other means, maybe even with an Ash breaching launcher or with a precious drone.
Rowe sneaking in has been quite a formidable player for the Niners. And for the early contest, it's the same thing pretty much in terms of positions being held here by UTSA. They've got some red pressure going on. They've got Ton, who is just such a expert with that 1.5 times optic. You've also got a little bit of a lurk pressure below. Seeing if that might be Kyle Pog sneak in against Messiah. There's the drone. Wamai doesn't see it. He's more preoccupied with what's happening towards that double door. And so the rest of the attack beginning to form up. Kyle Pog not really forcing the issue. The Ash may be choosing to rotate around. In the meanwhile, though, there's Messiah again on the leadoff kill. UNCC having a lot of trouble with this player.
How did Messiah get that kill? How is he allowed to push through Poor? Well, he won't be pushing anything for much longer, as the nade says. Yeah, you're not allowed to play in red anymore, but they survive. Honestly, with the Cook indicator like that, I thought they were dead, but they're not, and they're now able to pester UNCC another day, though. A flank was being held by Kyle that was over by the main stairs. A perfect trade is going to leave UNCC also in another awkward position, because now you have a highway between red and the main stairs that UTSA's defense can use whenever they elect. They could come back up the red stairs if they so choose, Reese, but I don't think that's what they're going to choose. I think they're going to elect to play closer to the bomb site and take these heads-up gunfights to deny the door frames.
Right, you just play for those angles. You try to sort of trade this one back, because eventually the 4 should be able to outlast the 3. Lincoln Rogue are trying to form up over by 90. Things are pretty slow so far. Have not seen pretty much any hard breaching going on in this Aviator objective. It's almost as if the hard breach gadget is just here for show. You've got the Alibi standing on this tall angle as UNCC continue to burn out the clock. You see the player skate down to the bottom of the red stairs. That means a rotate being made by the Niners. Going to try to work that main stairs pressure, but this time it shouldn't be so unexpected, and there's Ton to shut down the player. Now on the rotate, the Hibana iced out as well. The Nomads left, and Messiah will just kill every player that enters his crosshair. The Wamai, such a lethal foe.
How does he do it? The dude's just nasty on the sticks, I guess. I mean, UTSA allows Ton to just click heads, and UNCC simply didn't punish it. And I kind of have to be blunt with TB there, Reese, the Hapana. Did you expect Ton not to take a gunfight on the main stairs? They just found the kill, and 99% of the time, the player on the main stairs is going to retreat closer to the bomb site. What is the best path to do so? Definitely not classical hallway. It's through study, and TB was there on study. Again, it was just small errors. To be fair, UTSA probably should have had that exact outcome back in round number 8, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and they will correct it there, but they're still finding themselves again trailing by 1. UNCC, if they can feel comfortable attacking down towards this dining objective, they should be able to step onto match point and put up the possibility that we go to Cafe to settle things here. UTSA finding Ton, again in his element, doing Ton things. The rest of the squad, it's not as even as a performance in my opinion. From what we had on Bank, we had a conversation about how UTSA, they were all doing their jobs. Yes, but also no right now on Villa. There has been a couple moments where the rest of the squad is not really pulling as much weight as they need to. But I feel like San Antonio feel more comfortable on the defense. Maybe that's just a Ton thing, though.
Are you saying that they do a ton of work for UTSA?
I can't believe you.
That shocks you I'm more baffled the fact that it took me 10 rounds on map 2 to make that joke. I've been waiting, letting that percolate in my mind until the perfect endeavor happens. A whoopsie for Kyle Pog. Rogue is still in sight though. TB is going to tack on as well, and the UNCC crash is looking brilliant. They have control of the bomb, they have control of the site, and it's now just GOAT people and a 1v3. Low HP to their name. The play is going to be about confirmed in a moment second for TB, and a rush from GOAT people through the solo wall is just not going to be enough to overcome the UNCC rush. A brilliant read from them.
Just a quick little option there. Just make the play happen and not wait around. It looked a little better than last time. Remember when they tried to push the Frost down from the Astro stairs and she just killed 4 people?
True.
Despite the fact that UTSA had the first pick, they shut down the initial player to step through. They didn't get any kills after that. And UNCC, their rush play looking much better than the one we had tried earlier in our series here, and it puts them on to match point. 2 rounds that UTSA will need to prompt overtime. Otherwise, we're going to go to the decider and see how that cafe map in the distance is going to settle between these 2 rosters. Another round where UTSA don't have everybody necessarily doing their jobs. You need to predict that rush. When you've got the pulse, generally, you should know what's happening inside a pantry.
So Kitchener elected in round 12 a bomb site that UTSA has lost, in fact, in the previous round. And then the real question is, what do you do in round 12? Do you go back to Plains and Games technically for the 3rd time? It will be unlocked for you. That's also a bomb site that UTSA has lost. Or do they try to experiment with Trophy or Living Room like UNCC was doing? It's not necessarily a comfortable position for UTSA to be in. And I'm not just talking about the fact that they had the burden of going against their opponent's map choice. It was a dominant performance from UNCC. Most likely not going to see a rush. Like, there's just no way that UTSA is going to allow that to happen. But we do see UNCC queuing up for that. Stride and dies to a Hail Mary spray through a green barricade. And that's the opening death. Once again, we have to go back to the dialogue we had earlier, my friend. Where is the opening kill potential of UTSA? All but 1 on Bank, and now it's been much more even here on Villa.
Strident is really supposed to be a main component of the entry. Grenade comes in, but Ton just barely manages to dodge it. thinking about a second frag, they will go ahead and burn the ADS off of it and roll that frag on through. Matcha, in the meanwhile, a C4. Despite the fact that Strident is not having as much success on their openers, you've now tore through TB and Rogue, which should make up for the early death of the Cade. Combine that with the fact that Jazzy Baby still has a C4 left to put in motion here, and that could mean a 4 versus 2 here. See the C4 go up. It's just a little prep toss. Nobody really working the vert in this area, though. The sledge might eventually rotate back, though.
Jazzy Baby has full information the entire time. They're able to relay everything to their teammates of UTSA. Say, hey, the vertical is still taking place. I have yet to hear the sledgehammer, though. That's important. Something that Jazzy can communicate to their mates. You do have Yeti, though. So anytime now, we're going to see that sledgehammer. 25 is what they start off with. So they haven't taken any vertical. Why? Because Kyle Pog and company is threatened still by the lurk of time. They have fallen off to the basement, but their presence and their existence alone is providing dividends because UNCC has no idea where that roamer has gone off to, and they're now kind of stuck in a decision window. Do we continue the hunt, or do we start our vertical?
Well, they've already sort of settled on what they're going to do here, opening up a couple different angles, making some more options for the rest of the North Carolina Charlotte members. It's going to be a tough one to pull yourself out from being in this 3 versus 4. We saw them execute despite little poor odds in the previous. One player down towards the bottom of brick. Ton is waiting for the moment to strike, hoping that UNC will try to go in for the plant. See a Z-ping off in the distance. Kyle Pog trains one in onto Goat People. Only 2 defenders left to try to hold back into the site. Jazzy Baby, somebody will just walk right into him, and somehow the post doesn't spot Yeti, who was sharing the same room. Matcha trying to hold back here. No C4 to stop a potential plant, but now Messiah starting to tear things up. Yeti's gone down. A second to swing. Kyle Pog on a sliver of hell. It'll ultimately beat Messiah, who finishes us out there from the China angle as things do wind down on the second try of dining back-to-back there. Let's see what the final round of regulation has in store.
Reese, UNCC was just not as decisive as they were in the previous round. Simply put, they were too scared to establish their vertical. I don't know if that was Messiah's threat from potentially coming back up the Astro stairs. I don't know if it was the threat of the pulse and the nitrocell combination from below. Whatever it was, UNCC was just stagnant on that push. It took them, I think, close to a minute 50 for vertical to establish. That means you have 70 seconds to play with for vertical. That's just simply not going to be enough, my friend. And it just came down to UNCC struggling for time. They're forced to push, and, well, they tried, but it didn't work for them.
Now they went on the rush, but the typical take doesn't go their direction. Aviator in games should have been an easy pickup for UTSA, and it was on the second try. The first go-around, we had a little mistake, though. Unfortunately, Jazzy Baby in the one-on-one tried to vault and gave themselves into an open fight with the Hibana, who made a late entry through the Aviator area. As we go here again, UNCC need to be much more decisive. They're facing more utility on this red stairs than ever, with the Aruni, with the Jaeger, and with the Wamai all helping to assist in stopping this clear. What do they do instead? Rotate. Try to go for main pressure.
That rotation is going to be heard from a few different ways. One from Goat People, just slaughtering Yeti, but you also have the Thorn now in play, and one of the newest additions to the defending lineup. They have the ability to be early warning detection and a deployable shield too, which is yet to be played. And I think that's because UNCC has changed up their attack, and they're starting to push in from a different vector. You can see that UTSA is starting to change up their lineup, and Messiah is doing their best rogue impression. It was an MP5K on the stairwell earlier, and now it's an MP5K, just of a different player now finding crucially impactful kills.
UNCC are just kind of withering away. Lost 2 already. Key players, Yeti and Kyle Pog. Rogue has been one of the big standards of this hacking prowess. Messiah still fighting from the stairs, amassing a tremendous number of kills. There's the Finka again for the swing. Spotted out, Link is down. Unfortunately, the Finka realizes, I've got to go, I've got to swing. The Thorn shut down. Tun will not let it become a second casualty at the top of the stairs. And so, Texas, San Antonio put us into overtime.
A brilliant defense there from UTSA. Reese, what I think it just comes down to is the heads-up gunfights they took. The opening death from the opening kill dispatch from the Jaeger. It was Messiah's follow-up on the main stairs, and UNCC just had no ability to trade back any of those deaths. It was an unfortunate position to be in. UNCC simply made mistakes, and UTSA was able to exploit that. UTSA is going to have the luxury of going back to planes and games, but Reese, I don't know if this is actually that much of a luxury, because this bomb site has been kind of a rocky road for UTSA.
I think what I would say is probably the bigger luxury here is the fact that UTSA get the double defense. They played just better on their defensive half, which is what you expect from Villa. Their attacks were kind of weak. They were still feeling out how they were going to play with substitute Jazzy Baby, and ultimately things have improved, but UTSA still have work left to do. Starting to get a little shaky, though, for Niners, who lost twice in a row on the opportunity to close out and realize that we're going to get knocked out if we don't improve, if we can't fight for these next two. Close down on overtime. And to put us on Cafe Dostoevsky, as a reminder for those of you who weren't here during our pregame segment at the start of the day, this is the Unified Collegiate Championships WILDCARD qualifier tournament. There are 16 teams competing, and if you lose, you're gone. Single elimination. All of these matches playing out in best of 3. You have an opportunity to move on to what is the biggest tournament in collegiate Rainbow Six Siege history.
UTSA had a dominant performance on Bank. That was their opponent's map choice, but now we're on Villa, their own choice, and it's 6-6. It is a completely different showing, and speaking of different showings, it has to be demonstrated too by UNCC's utility usage, and I think that's one thing that has kept this series so close, is we're seeing kind of lackluster utility usage, but both teams are just simply able to win gunfights that they just have no business ever winning.
Sneaky here from Rogue. A ton from stairs
Knows.
again. Okay then, Tun just walks down into Rogue. He lost that Finka twice now. An opportunity has been had to make a serious caliber play. All the utility comes forward. Tun still holding in here. Another flash, another set of utility to follow through. And Tun put on pretty low HP. Still holding those stairs though. Wamai, considering the rotation, does just slink back. In the meanwhile, though, Goat People comes on to Jetty. And there goes Stryden on the refrag, who has not really had a very successful map here of Villa. UTSA still holding out. They've got the advantage, but ultimately, possibilities here are limitless.
And the thing with Stryden's death is their utility is still in play, assuming that they've put it all down. So Stryden is still providing information, and they're also providing additional information from the bulletproof camera that they're operating. So sure, they aren't active on a gun, but they can call exactly what the push is looking like. They can hold the flank in from behind. Tun falls, a very important kill for UNCC that not only neutralizes the roster count, but that's big scary Tun, the 19 killer, off the board.
Look at Jazzy Baby though, tied on the corner. Possibility of a rotate being called for the other two over by 90. The Lion continues to test the threshold. Jazzy Baby strikes but misses the opportunity. UNCC have suddenly come back into a realistic chance to win here on Aviator. And Kyle Pog, the first to cross the threshold. Jaeger still playing from back of study. The wall open, the opportunity made, and Link will set on in. Goat People forced to step up. The Lion close at the door, and Kyle Pog puts in 2 for the take of Aviator, ultimately coming to the end. And UNCC, the Niners, have the first round of overtime.
Stop sprinting in the clutch. UNCC did that in the previous round. And now the Jaeger in the 1v3 finds one player sprinting in the bomb site, and to celebrate their victory, Reese, they hit a good old smack the W key, smack the shift key, and die to a 1 HP Lion. If they didn't sprint, they would have been able to shoot. And while that doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the kill, it at least guarantees that you can fend for yourself, not have your gun looking at the ground. It was just an unfortunate scenario for UTSA, Reese. They wasted 2 minutes. They found multiple opening kills. They absorbed every flashbang and grenade that UNCC brought out. And simply put, we've been complimentary of their ability to win gunfights, completely absent when it was needed most in round 13 overtime.
And we can't avoid the elephant in the room that was Jazzy Baby in that tucked corner. Should have had that kill against the Lion, dead to rights. But sometimes you run the Roni and you run out of ammunition. Having a small magazine in a game of Siege, which is largely about pre-fires and having more ammo than your enemy counterpart, ultimately costing Jazzy Baby there for not being able to get on target. And so the first round in the defense for UTSA will go to their opponent, who pick up on the attack. And now the difficult reality sets in. University of Texas San Antonio need to pick up an attack round of their own to match that and to force us into number 15.
Whew. The burden for UTSA is to win their map choice. They want to conclude this series in 2 maps, but they have to take this execute first. They have to push in through Master, and it's going to start off with the drones. It's going to start off with gathering information, and hopefully those drones say, hey, it's pretty much coast is clear over to the north side of the map, and because the coast is clear, it's Rogue bringing out the exact same strategy that we saw Ton Messiah play earlier. There is a deviation, though, in the strategy. It was a double reinforcement of Lamp, and now it's foot-level holes for UNC. And honestly, I'm kind of on board with the foot-level holes for UNCC because, honestly, Rogue can set up this pixel and pretty much deny any type of utility usage sent their way. Oh, they know. Oh.
They should know. Now, as Rogue starts to fire forward, Ton is careful about his positioning here, wants to make the 20 bomb possible. The Wamai just kind of bouncing around it. Grenade in, trying to get those magnets out. Unfortunately, Rogue totally white, completely flashed out here. TB trying to provide the support as well. The Wamai still active from this stairwell and not having been yet pushed off of this. The way that this wall has been set up is causing a couple issues. It's hard to get the utility out. They did manage the deployable, but they haven't done yet any damage onto the Wamai. Messiah now taking damage from a Gersmon as he makes the entrance. There's the Wamai, but Ton missing crucial shots. He won't foul it up on the second attempt. The lead-off pick goes to UTSA.
Ton finds their 20 bomb, but this has been the bane of UTSA every single time they've elected to attack this bomb site. They've lost it both times, and with the trade there, it's starting to look like the writing on the wall once again. Go People needs to burn the utility. That deployable shield cannot exist any longer, but I think we're starting to see UTSA try to deviate away from their push to that north door frame. They've done that twice, and they failed at that push twice. They're starting to expand over into 90, but why aren't they expanding to the south side of the map? Why aren't they trying to do a study take? They need to be more dynamic, and right now they're setting up for the exact same mistakes they made twice before.
Another problem, no remaining burn here for the Roadrunners. They're going to have to go in relatively dry, and you've got one lurking below as well. Strident goes for the boost, and he'll hit the site. He moves in. There's the smoke and the reaction shot. In the meanwhile, it's Messiah to cut down on another player in study. Strident down. In the meanwhile, TB needs to be strong in the clutch, and he will. Gets a triple. Plant coming down from Jazzy Baby, and there might be a world where the Jaeger can deny this. Unfortunately, no. Habana will complete the bomb, and Ton on terribly low HP, seeing if he can make it to 21 into 22. The Jaeger pops up, ultimately delivered away, and there will be a 20-second kill. There will also be a 15th round.
UTSA has been unable to win planes in games the 2 times they've attempted it. The 3rd time in overtime when it matters the most, it's match point for UNCC. UTSA finds the victory there, and it's off the back of the entry combination. We saw Strident, we saw Messiah, Ton come together and simply win their ones. That's what UTSA needed, and now they have the flexibility of going to any site they elect because they lost planes in games. They're going back to Plains and Games. Aviator Games Room brought out for 3 rounds in a row, Reese. It has been unsuccessful for the defense, and now it's the most important opportunity for UTSA to conclude their run in the Unified Collegiate Championship, the wildcard qualifier in 2 maps.
Well, I suppose if you really needed some rounds to VOD review Aviator and Games, you've got them now. Number 8 in 15 rounds that we've played so far. More than half have been on this gosh darn Aviator objective, and we'll see how it does wrap up here as we go back to it for one final time. UTSA, they win this, they close out. Now the fire alarm's going off.
Apparently they're upset that 8 rounds so far have been shown on Plains and Games. We're playing 15 rounds. That hurts my brain. Again, degree in finance, I can't count past 3, so mind-blowing nonetheless. And the fire alarm detonates in the backside of Reese's house. Why? Because things are getting spicy here on Villa. They're getting hot in here on Villa, especially because Monty's in play. Absent all series long, and when it matters the most, Monty's in play, but it's Yeti tied for second most frags on their roster with Kyle and TB. You're losing one of your best guns for a shield. It's a gamble, to be said, and honestly, Reese, if you're making a gamble at all, now's really the time to do so, because you're not going to have another opportunity if UNCC ends up dropping this attack. They're still establishing their map control. They still don't really know where the members of UTSA are. They know what bomb sign, but they just saw goat people zoomy sprint the other side of the map, so they know that the roam has pretty much been foregone on the middle floor, and now it's the opportunity for UNCC to use the Monty, leverage the Monty to establish the control of the central stage.
Oh no! Eddie taking a lot of damage off the back of that gas babe. TB eliminates Strident, who has just been kind of the anvil. The fire alarm still going off here as Matcha responds onto Kyle Pog, though.
Well, Strident has been kind of suffering in these early trades for UTSA, but once again, we talked about this earlier, you do have the Thor and gadgets to detonate, which might be able to find some kills. Jazzy Baby falls, and they were in an awkward position before, and they're now no longer going to be a viable defender. Messiah somehow swings to red. They fell rogue, but their position has to be known on top red landing. Nobody's there to get the trade until TB establishes the cutoff in through study. Lynx has control of the site, but remember, Yeti doesn't have a gun. They have the deployable shield. Matcha being pressured. They have to go for the knife. They end up missing it, and TB finds that kill. It's now just go people forced to push in through the Aruna gate. It will go away. That's going to be the audio cue, though. Plus, they have low HP. Yeti completes the plan. Link finds the kill, and UNCC will continue to fight for another map. They find victory on their opponent's map choice. Cafe now confirmed.
Well, it was a close one, but the Collegiate Special does eventuate. It always comes down to this. The two teams stealing out their opponent's map selections, and so Villa will end up in overtime with Cafe now locked in and guaranteed. We will be going to the Russian map, and that's where we're going to finish off tonight's series on.
Did you see how many kills Messiah got? 23. It's not every day that you see 23 kills. Like, it is a true treat. We talked about this actually in the pre-game. UTSA is a good team. If everybody is clicking heads and everybody's finding kills, they tend to be successful. We saw that on Bank. But if it's just the ton show, they tend to struggle. Map 2 Villa was ton, and ton. And they just weren't able to, I'm about to say this, solo carry.
Yeah, and the rest of the roster is going to have to lift much more weight on this third map. Otherwise, things are just not going to work out, and it'll be the Niners who will move on to the next round. We'll see you after the break. We'll get on to Cafe Dostoevsky.
Happy Saturday, everybody. You guys are currently tuning in to the Unified Collegiate Championship. This is the wild card matchup to enter into the actual final tournament taking place in a few weeks, my friend. It's a single elimination tournament, and we find ourselves again in the middle of map 3, or pardon me, entering into the map 3. UTSA versus UNC. Reese, we've seen some incredible gameplay so far. Villa was awesome. I think Cafe is going to be even better.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the UTSA side, some shortcomings on that second map of Villa. They had to come in with a substitute player, and it really hampered them, despite the fact that they performed excellently and actually played really well on the first map. The second one, not as successful for them, and the Niners, after a close one, forced us into overtime and claimed victory in a hotly contested 15th round overtime. But now we set the stage here for Cafe Dostoevsky, and we get started to see what things will look like here with the Thatcher ban, same as it was on Villa. We had both Maverick and Hibana banned out earlier on Bank. Let's see who the second attacker is to join us on the Cafe Veto.
Jackal Falls, again an operator, not seen in the ban wave so far, but Reese, I want to back up just 1 second. When was the last time that you saw Cafe in Collegiate? It's been, actually I can remember the last time, it was back in round of 8 in 06.
Yeah, honestly, I've had a bit of a break for what things have gone like in the Cafe recently. Cafe has historically not been my favorite map, but you know, we live and learn, and we see how the teams change. We have also the possibility of all of our new maps in the 9-map pool coming later down the line in the rest of our wildcard qualifying tournament, which you should continue to expect throughout the weekend. We'll have another broadcast tomorrow, so make sure you're here for that one as well. Same starting time, 7 p.m. EST. The last map is upon us, and, well, let's see how things go with another UTSA member swap. This time, it's Zyra coming onto the squad. This is one of their starting players from their Collegiate R6 Community College League roster coming into the foray.
How many subs does UTSA have? That's the most subs I've ever seen in my life. And
They have a lot.
a lot. At this point, the homie Miggs is going to come out of the woodwork and step into the lobby. For the homie Miggs is a legacy member, a recent graduate of the UTSA University. And so they're obviously no longer able to play for the university, but they're still a supporter, so who knows at this point. And the reason why I asked you earlier when the last time that you saw Cafe, because it feels like it's been months since we said, in fact 4 weeks, and it feels like we have a fresh slate. It feels like it's a fresh map, and sure, we might see some legacy strategies, but honestly, I'm expecting to see this probably be the best matchup out of the 3 maps today.
I don't know. Bank was a pretty good one. It's going to be hard to beat that with all the little adaptations that we had. But I think things are going to be a little bit more competitive now for UTSA, given they've got Zyra coming onto the squad. I don't know. It's weird for a team to play 3 different players through 3 different maps. But I suppose it's better to have a lot of substitutes than to have none and to have to forfeit, right?
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, we see a lot of collegiate teams struggle to find a cohesive, we'll call it 6. And it's nice that the program over at UTSA at San Antonio, Texas, has the ability and interest to have so many players willing to fight in a very important match. Again, a wild card match, continue moving forward the tournament, or pack your bags and your semester of collegiate and your semester, I guess your entire school year of collegiate will end. Go people, the opening death, they're going to fall earlier. At least you got Rogue Deep, the ability to heal, but they're not going to be able to detonate the nanobots in their bloodstream, so it's going to be a perfect trade between both rosters. And actually, one of the first trades that we've really seen within a few seconds of each other so far this series.
Things already starting off with that back and forth nature. It's UNCC who get the early kill there, but not before the trade. It's important to watch out for that because UNCC, the reason why they kind of lost Bank is they just had no ability to score that opening kill. The few times that they did, I think only managed to happen once. I would just get traded out, and it was like that advantage was all for naught. Spending a little bit of a time sink to get control of this top floor. You've got your Sledge, who can make up for that lost time, though, by shuffling all of these defender positions. That being said, only one really being vulnerable. That's Zyra. And while the Cade might be vulnerable, per se, to the vertical, it's not like he's entirely defenseless either. He's got a C4 he could put into action to try to stop, permanently, this Sledge from tearing up the floor.
I think Zyra is more focused on something else going on, almost like UNCC has established a stronghold over in Big Bakery, but that's just not the case, Reese, because you got Strident playing there. So it's interesting that the Nitro Cell hasn't been used. We're not seeing Zyra challenge the vertical, and UNCC needs to start to move a little bit quicker. UTSA drops Matcha, so that's the speed that we needed from the offense, but you still don't got a lot of time left, and you're going to have to start to push in through the vaults of Meat Locker. Nitro Cell detonates, but Kyle Pog is on the threshold of the door. They could just push on forward, and as they do so, that's going to allow TB to follow. The plant begins to go down, the flashbangs to deter the audio, and also blind the members of UTSA. Messiah's offsite, Strident's offsite, who's now just been able to get in through kitchen cooking, but they're nowhere really near. They're not going to be able to defend the post plan, but it's Messiah after all. It's Dude goes nuclear, and now 1v1, low HP, and Messiah gets the quad. How do they do it, Reese? How are they constantly able to find so many darn kills?
I don't even know the answer for you. It's completely unbelievable. Ton is stacking kill after kill every game this series. Double digits. What was it, 23 on the second map? It was just so impressive to see that level of performance. And you go back on the first map as well, it was something like 16, I believe we finished out at. Ton has been a crazy player so far tonight, and UTSA have just been on a roll. That being said, that was not really a team victory on that bottom floor defense. UNCC had a team victory. They got into the site, they tore up the floor, and they put the bomb down. Without Ton scoring a 4K there, the rest of the squad would have crumbled.
But hasn't that been the storyline all day? Ton finds a 4K, UTSA wins, right? Like, it is not the first time that they've dropped a 4K. And it just seems like they are too explosive of a player, and they're just honestly able to get away with silly rounds. UTSA should have honestly truly lost that, but they didn't. Now they're upstairs. It's going to be the bar hold, and UTSA does not have the luxury of going for their extended roam like they did downstairs in the kitchen. They roamed on 2 floors, but now, Reese, you're on the top floor. You really don't have anywhere to go other than away from your bomb site.
Well, you do kind of have to deal with that. Move through the rotation, kind of steady as she goes, see how the different objectives will play. The T-Bird, a nice introduction to her as well. UNCC, they've got some spice of their own in this attacking composition. The Flores is such a powerful operator. It's honestly kind of a shock we didn't get a lot of him on the earlier map as well. Flores was allowed through the operator veto. Chief, we saw, I think, 8 aviator rounds, and almost all 8 of those AV defenses had a deployable shield at that red staircase. One Flores drone would have been enough to deal with that.
One deployable here, though, on the upstairs portion of Cafe, and you can deal with it any way you want. You talked about the RCXD drones, brilliant, but what about the grenades? You have 2 sets of grenades and 3 sets of flashbangs. If you have your 3 ADSs there, one of the 3 members of UNCC flashbang squad can deal with it for free. So you have so much flexibility on the way that UNCC can approach this round that they should be good to do a lot more than just remove deployable shields with the RCXD drones. I mean, in theory, you can force goat people away or somebody playing in the upstairs bathroom with one of those, kind of like a grenade. Oh, wow.
Potential as well. Things are not going so hot in the second round. A little slower for UTSA. Not having that trade found out yet. The Niners are looking a little bit more dominant, kind of set in their motion. Strident is forced back. He's not really been a player involved too much. Strident needs to kind of pick it up a little bit, and, well, Getty has just kind of walked into the site here. This could be the pick that you isolate. Doesn't look like it's much going to happen. C4 blows up. Yeti steps out to the distance. In the meanwhile, Zyra will put him away. Kyle Pog for a second. Very well could be a third here. Zyra is forced back into the deep. Not a lot of cover. The Flores will go down, but Link on the trade. North Carolina Charlotte with a much cleaner execute, not allowing any defensive playmaking.
It was flexibility on the side of UNCC. We talked about their utility. We talked about utility removing, well, defending bits of utility, particularly deployable shields, but I guess we didn't really spend enough time talking about grenades, removing members of the defense. 2 opening kills with those nades, in fact, and that was a power of information. If you see where the defense is playing, you see them in bar back storage, the portion behind the bomb site. As you as a defender, there's not a lot of escape routes. If you try to go towards the east, sometimes if you're too close to the door, you can die to the skylight. So well-placed grenades, enough to set UNCC on a path that would eventually lead to a very dominant victory.
The bar repeat, and I would immediately like to draw the parallel to Villas, Aviator, and Games. Bar on Cafe is basically the same thing. It's the objective that just gets pounded. We get it again and again and again. And the rosters will try to go back and forth. We'll try to institute different things here or there. UTSA, their early pressure in that last round wasn't hot. They didn't really use a great strategy over by Pixel, and they did not have a lot of luck holding back against that, which draws me to this. 1 deployable shield only? Is that enough in the current meta?
I don't think so. I'm still of the maybe boomer mindset where you need 2 deployable shields and the Wamai.
Fair. Have the extra power to be able to cover multiple different angles. One thing is, as many shields as you got. The one thing you can't stop, well, you sort of can with Castle Barricades, can't stop that window pressure. It's coming eventually. And I feel like I've casted so many college cafe games where I'm just like, go on the windows, please, for the love of God, use the window repels. Because all you need to do to get rid of this bathroom shield is just go on the window of white, burn the utility, and toss a nade in there. And the Jaeger is going to be totally out of luck. Look at the Surya gates. They're on the west side. There's not realistically a lot of coverage to stop this shield other than like 1 ADS. And here we go. Flores drone will just run right in, say goodbye to your utility because it all goes boom.
Is that something that you should be prepared for? Like, where is the mute? You tend to run a primary shotgun. You're not actually for Tulsa, or for UTSA. So I guess it's just going to be a missed opportunity. At least it's explosive meets explosive. The nitro cell from below, and Machu dispatch that is going to be finding more damage. Shots through the floor, and Kyle Pog is going to take some of that burden, but they're still alive and well, and they're actually going to kind of reap the benefits of their previous use of the RCXD drone. They're going to be able to push straight into the bathroom.
Working the pressure. Haven't exactly gotten the same amount of success in the previous. And that is kind of the idea here of how things will go for this site. It was a crucial C4 there by Matcha to go below and to get it started. You can see the effect it's had on UNCC. They're kind of playing a little further back. They've still got a lot of tasks to accomplish. And they're dealing with electrification on that wall in towards bar. It's a Cade Claw. Not exactly going to be able to go up to the top of the skylight and shoot it from above. Messiah lurking for the stairs. It seems like UNCC are going to have to come in through a cigar shop execute. The one thing could be the difference maker here, the repel from the Nomad. If she steps in, she can cut up through Cocktail. It won't happen, though. Ton will jump on out, and that's going to have to be the signal for UNCC to make their play in step 2. The T-Bird down in deep freeze, and so things look steady for a meanwhile until Matcha cuts down 1 and 2 to make a total of 3 in the final trade there. And ultimately, the defense will go back-to-back, fixing a couple of mistakes and improving on the top floor.
UNCC did a lot of things well that round, particularly the removal of the deployable shield, but after that, they kind of slowed their attack down. They never really redroned, they never really gathered information on where UTSA was playing, and it was UTSA able to be unpredictable. It was the run out from Ton that changed really that course of that round for UNCC, because I agree with you. Link was in probably the best position to allow the offense to go for a plan. that just weren't prepared for aggression. And I think that's something, an oversight, and something that UNCC needs to be always prepared for, because that has really been the standard for UTSA victories. If we get aggressive, we win.
It's a really basic way to look at it, but it's exactly true. UTSA, just their early game has been, when they're aggressive, just better. Yeah. UNCC have not been fantastic at shutting it down, and I would honestly like to see kind of more investment in the roam. You will get that with Stryden, but I feel like the problem has been Stryden needs to work together with someone, because he has been kind of caught out for these last 2 maps. You know, he wasn't really hugely notable on the first map. It was mainly Angel and Tom that were the kind of standout star players. But now that Angel is gone, you've got Zyra in, who's not on the same role as Angel, kind of playing more of a heart support than a designated flex. Yeti on the entry, though. It's going to be a bakery minimal take, or maybe just a flat-out rush. Yeti will send it in, spots the Cade. Zyra pops up. If a second comes out of this Cade's play, this one should be shut down in a moment's notice, and they all nearly line up for the Cade, resulting to the revolver. Zyra with 4, and Rogue collapsed by Stryden. UTSA shut down the rush in every sense of the word.
What happened? Where did this round go? UNCC was playing, and then they weren't. I don't disagree with the rush, but how did UTSA adapt so fast to the rush? Everybody was very punctual on the side of UTSA to put their gun barrels in the right place at the right time, and they were on the same wavelength. I was critical of the Villa adaptations, where we saw members of UTSA lost in the sauce. They had no idea what their teammates were doing. That round, it seemed like they were one brain. They knew exactly what everybody was doing.
And it was just Zyra. It was just the Cade, who knocked down 4 targets, could not overwhelm him. And, oh boy, that's not it's not a sparkly line item on your resume there for UNCC to rush in and die to a 3-armor Moroccan sitting at the back of cooking and just blasting you. And they're going to go deal with another objective now. The first use of this tertiary objective after we had that little back and forth. Kitchen on the first and the fourth. Bar on the second and the third. We'll go tertiary, and we'll look at reading. Not many notable changes coming out of the UNCC lineup. On UTSA's side, though, the Warden is back.
This is different. I want to talk about the Warden in a second, but have you ever seen chest level holes? We usually see foot level holes between the sights.
Yeah, you're right, but honestly, in my experience, I always felt like the foot level holes were kind of awkward.
Honestly, this whole bomb site sometimes feels awkward, doesn't it? Like, sometimes you can get the best prone level shots and prevent them from entering, them being the attackers, from entering the bomb site, or sometimes the attackers prone and shoot you through them. Like, I guess holes work both ways, and it seems to happen. We'll just have to see if the change-up for UTSA is exactly what the doctor ordered for them. It's a push upstairs, and this is actually why I do prefer this bomb site sometimes to bar, because it forces the attackers to take multiple floors. And once you've established your vertical, if you wasted enough time, the vertical might not be enough to successfully win a round for an attacking team.
Grenade goes in, looks like captured though by the ADS. Otherwise, the Warden would have surely been taken care of. Rogue trying to get that LMG in action. You've also got Yeti working the pressure from the window rappel. It's a very tentative spot. Matcha almost certain to perish here in this bathroom. More and more flashbangs continue to pile on. Yeti got the grenade. If Matcha wins this gunfight, that would be huge, but it won't happen. Simply overwhelmed with too many targets, but it is a significant time waste that UNCC have experienced with that bathroom player. Here's where they make their value back, eliminating Stryden on the pinch pressure at Cocktail. The Flores steps in, DBNO'd, and they've got the intel too. Stryden might be able to make the confirmation. He won't. No opportunity as of yet. There's that C4. Goat people, he tosses one up. Oh, and it gets both of them. Kyle Pog and Link are sent away. Messiah comes into.
It's just TB against 4. He finds 1, but he's going to have to go for the clutch ace if they want to be successful and take UNCC, if they want to be able to win this round. Reese, they do actually have a lot of things going well for them. You have flat place breaching charges, so you can create your own verticals and create fast lanes into the second floor where the bomb site is. You also have the diffuser, something that has not been lost in the fray of those nitro cells. So you got some things for you, but where is UTSA playing? Well, they're all over the place. They've sprawled out their defense right now, and TB is just going to have to go for the push. They're going to have to be brave. They're going to have to win their gunfights. They were brave. They weren't able to win the fight.
Well, a couple slip-ups later in a first half, which starting to maybe get a little out of control. University of Texas San Antonio already have put together 4, and they look ripe to get a 5th, but it's going to have to be on that bar site, the most competitive, the most controversial, the one that's gone back and forth. And UNCC, I think if Matcha hadn't secured that C4 kill onto Rogue, probably would have won both of the attack rounds back-to-back, because for the way that they structure their attack, it's actually really good. They've got the window pressure that I was complaining about other teams usually lacking. Sometimes the window pressure hasn't been enough, but the thought is at least they've got it there, right? The foundation has been laid. The one thing is we mentioned this concept of how aggressive UTSA are, how willing they are to get involved in the early game. You need to watch out for those runouts, right, Brian? Because we saw what happened last time. You just had Ton just sort of hopped out the White Stairs window and shot Link, who was waiting on the Heaven Repel.
I'm going to put you in the spot. What percent do you think this bomb site is win rate rise for the defense?
I would say probably about 55% defensive win rate.
You're quite close. 51%. We're using 6 invitational statistics. And honestly, I was expecting it to be kind of a hacker side of 51% because we've seen some strong rounds from the attacking team. And honestly, 51 I think that makes sense, right? Sometimes it's a defender paradise, sometimes an attacker paradise, and also to prove something that you said earlier, to kind of demonstrate that teams seem to constantly go back to this bomb site, constantly attempt to repeat it. It was the most played site. 102 out of the 312 rounds were played on bar.
So at least a third of
basically
every...
we'll round it up and call it a third. 30%,
right.
Probably close to about 30%.
Yeah, I mean, the bar site, partially what it is, nobody's playing mining. Mining is like really
it's
kind of a
played
trick
35
site.
times.
I mean, hey, that's better than nothing.
And it was 54% of the time for the defense, so technically it was the best site.
All right, well, heard it here first, folks. Mining is the strongest site. Rogue is also the strongest entry of round number 6. Both Matcha and Stryden are cut down, and this ties in with what I said. Without that C4 kill against UNCC on the second try of bar, it probably would have been 2 in a row attacking-wise. And now you don't have the C4s.
R60s, though, man. Like, you have them. You can just break things down. There's a deployable shield? Nope, not anymore. Dispatch it, drive it, and blow things up. There's deployable shields. There's ADSs and Arudi gates. All but the Arudi gates could be destroyed by the R60 drone. Only one left, though, for Kyle Pong. So you have to be very mindful of where they place it because Rogue is getting aggressive. They're starting to push out of Pixel to try to deal with Bathroom and the player Messiah. Well, they've fallen away from there. So that's a sigh of relief from UNCC, who has absolute authority towards the west side of the map.
Now you've got the Surya Gate burned as well. You're able to sort of make some pressure past that. 60 to go. Defender positions are starting to become clearer, and UTSA have to fight for a pick now. Something needs to materialize. It's going to have to be a straight-up gunfight. You don't have any utility to make it happen. Rogue will trail around the corner. Ton gets one back, but you might say it's a little too late, but don't ever count out Messiah, who now puts together a second and working the flank. There could be a third, but look at this player inside Cigar Shop. I believe watching this Pixel flank. Zyra pops up, seems to know there's one deep behind the bar. Messiah just needs to play this time. Rounds the corner, knows there's one on Pixel, the Flores is down. And so now the cocktail rotate, the Hibana looking to complete the plant here. However, Kyle Pog may be able to act sort of as the human drone, and Ton, the situation will not complete itself there. No 5-1 half. We will at least see 2 attacking pickups from the Niners.
And UNCC has some very strong attacks. That round 2 that they had, that was powerful. And honestly, the round 1 basement attack or downstairs in the kitchen, where it was a 2v4 post plant, UNCC probably should have won that race. In all honesty, it just came down to Ton, Messiah going nuclear like they've done so many times. It has been a real theme so far for UTSA, having Messiah Ton be one of the most influential players on the side of UTSA. And that wasn't the storyline at all for Bank. It was a very even kill split for UTSA back on Bank. Not so much for the latter stages of the Unifying Collegiate Championship qualifier today. That being said, the change up. It's UNCC now going to defense. And surprise, Reese, we're back upstairs.
Yeah, and wow, the defense looks totally different. UNCC are playing something completely of its own. No T-Bird, no Cade. Instead, you got 2 LMGs coming out, Rogue and Link, running the Tachanka and the Maestro, respectively, however the rehost called. So we will drop out as we figure out what is plaguing all of the players. But either way so far, UTSA, I think they're right where they want to be, got there for on the defense. However, I look at the earlier map of Villa, and I compare, the attack half there just wasn't great.
Oh, boy. No way! Oh, that's terrifying. Well, we're going to dive back over to cameras right now, because that was a treat. Oh, boy, man. Hopefully that's not kind of showing what UTSA is going to look like on their attack, blowing everybody up with 1 grenade. Of course, that's not going to matter, right? Like, the deaths of the members of UTSA, the rehost was already called, so that was teammates enjoying having a few moments of fun, but hopefully they enjoyed their fun, because it's honestly time for them to take this tactical pause to talk amongst themselves, to liberate, and create a strong, well-founded attack.
The second half as well, you want to get into this with a lot of authority. Don't afford to, you don't want to let the half kind of start to slip back on you. That's why we had overtime on Villa, because the first half was pretty dominant. Unfortunately for the Niners, they started to let it slip here or there. Texas San Antonio started to kind of climb back in. They eventually, for the Niners, forced into match point just by rushing into the dining site. And 2 more rounds precipitated for the Roadrunners. We got OT. We know how that one ended. Looking at this map as well, if you're on the Roadrunners side, let's talk about how you're going to close this out. We're on the attack. We know what happened last map. There was just ineffectiveness from Stryden. There was a real lack of him getting involved, and it's not just Stryden's fault either. It's kind of the way that the team had been structured. Playing with the substitute, I think, kind of made things more difficult there. I'm expecting this to be a very good attack. We know that Reese, we've got the starting players.
And Reese, I'm glad you asked that question, because I was asking myself personally that question. What does UTSA need to do? Honestly, it's more than just Stryden. I want Stryden and Ton to be turned into this ball of chaos where they're together always. They're tied at the hip, or they're handcuffed together. When one is pushing, the other one is pushing, and you're guaranteed trades. Honestly, you and I kind of got frustrated when we would see Ton by themselves and attack. Oh, I'm so sneaky. I'm trying to come up a stairwell and shoot somebody in the back. And then they're not sneaky. They die. And now Stryden's by themselves in the entry duo going, Ton? Ton? Where are you? Handcuff them together, create the ball of chaos, and push as a entry duo.
Alrighty, well, we are still working on the rehost, so we are going to jump to a quick break in order to facilitate that, but don't you worry, the third map will be right back after this. Welcome back. You're watching the Unified Collegiate Championships wildcard qualifying tournament. We apologize for the extended delay, but we're back on track here for Cafe Dostoevsky, and we're just getting back into the second half of Cafe for the offensive side. UTSA are now picking up, and they're going up to Bar for this 7th round.
You know what? Back on Villa, we saw 8 planes and games, and as you mentioned, we're going back to Bar. And if we go into overtime, I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see probably close to another 8 Bar defenses. Reese, why are players gravitating towards this bomb site?
It's the top one in the list of sites when you pick.
That is true. But that is very true, but I don't know. Don't you feel claustrophobic here sometimes? Like, man, if I'm a defender and I'm like playing my pixel deployable shield, I'm like, please don't have grenades. Please don't have a lot of flashbangs.
Yeah. I always, coming back to my comp days, felt like playing Reading or playing Kitchen was more comfortable.
Same.
Just because of, the way that the map played then. The map plays pretty same now. The top floor... Generally, I don't know, it does maybe have a little bit more opportunities to play on the top floor, and, teams like the top floor, teams have lots of strats for the top floor. That's about it, really.
Something that was absent for UTSA's defense, it was the shotgun. We never really saw a primary shotgun once. They're always bringing their submachine guns. And now UNCC has kind of infected it with their own twist. They've brought out the Mossberg shotgun that you'd expect. They also brought out 2 defending LMGs. You got the one from Maestro, the Alda, but you also got the new DP-28 from Rogue. So you got some firepower, and why I called it with the twist, that that LMG from Rogue could do a lot of soft destruction.
Yeah, you can really do a couple different things with that LMG. It does hit hard as well, and you can really pour a line of fire down by that ticket position. Things are going to be tough for UTSA to get going, but it's up to them to show us that on the offense here of Cafe, they are prepared and they have some authority. They are experienced. They know what needs to be done. A grenade from Messiah early aimed towards that player inside Cigar Shop. However, they will drop down the humidor and quickly deploy a barricade on that mining hallway, as Yeti, not keen to continue playing inside CS, obviously doesn't want to get blown up by a grenade.
Well, it's wise to be mindful of those explosive devices. Nobody wants to be sent sky high, but UNCCs also have their own explosive devices, Reese, not grenades. But what about nitro cells from below? Well, they actually are done right now. Yeti was that player in that position, and they've kind of left. It was TB playing aggressive instead, and honestly, I actually don't hate the way that UNCC is playing this at all. They're aggressive pretty much everywhere right now, and look what it's doing. UTSA has dropped 2 attackers in red, and there's 70 seconds left. They're going to have to expedite. They're going to have to start to move very quickly. And how can you when Rogue still has 8 Shamiko launchers left?
Yeah, here you see my distaste for this top floor objective in the map Cafe generally. Teams that do not understand you need that window pressure are going to grind to an eventual halt. Rogue on the swing nearly has another. Matcha on terribly low HP. She'll quickly run to the corner, try to get in as much cover as possible. UTSA not having traded out that earlier death is making things commensurately difficult here. More and more fire begins to fill the space in the corner, and Rogue just simply won't let up. Matcha has nowhere to go. Somehow still is not yet dead to the fire, but in the meanwhile, Yeti onto Zyra. More and more casualties begin to mount for UTSA in a bar attack, which really isn't going much of anywhere. It's only the Finka and the Hib who are left with 15 seconds each to just try to do anything.
They try. They certainly try, but they just wasted too much time, Reese. And you simply put, I'm going to be kind of blunt and harsh with this one because I have to be. There is never an acceptable reality where you should be dropping your attackers with a minute 13 on the clock. That is brutally unacceptable in my book. For me, you have to have boots on the ground in the first 45 seconds pressuring Pixel. If you do not do that sooner rather than later, you're going to find yourself where UTSA was, stuck in red with flames all around you and simply nowhere to go. Honestly, Tachanka is a brutally underpicked operator, and you can see why. Tachanka in the right scenario at the right time can be incredibly powerful. The amount of Shamika launcher canisters they have was able to waste an ungodly amount of time.
And it was, in that round, sort of as well, UTSA, the Roadrunners, kind of losing to themselves for not having that bathroom pressure. You knew that Tachanka was there. He was sitting on Pixel the whole time. So what's the holdup? What's the waiting period? Why are they just trying to push through Red and Cigar Shop? It's like the windows don't even exist to them. And it was such a good thing that UNCC did on their attacks. For it to be absent here in the second half is a little bewildering to me. But already, things are starting to mount ahead as UNCC try to drive her closer.
Not a top floor defense, though. It's a middle floor defense. You talked about this earlier, Reese, and I agree. I love Reading Room because it's a perfect amalgamation of kitchen and bar. It's on the middle floor, which requires the kitchen level roam clear with vertical, but it also requires the execute in through bar. If UTSA is unable to do both of those parameters, simply put, they're going to be struggling. And we talked about 45 seconds on the clock. That's your entry point. They're starting to be behind the curve. You have to be taking this control, and look at the synergization from UTSA right now. They're now just getting the drone there, and Tun has been waiting for that for, what, we'll call it 15 seconds?
Kind of behind the wheels, the way I would describe that waiting period. You need to be faster. There is no you have to quicken up here, because the more time you allot the defenders on this top floor, it's just gonna kill you. You need to clear this. You need to remove the utility. You need to speed it up. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting around waiting for something to happen. Sure, you might eventually clear the top floor, but if you arrive to the objective with 20 seconds, it's realistically not going to work 9 times out of 10. And UTSA, you can still see they're a little hesitant, kind of droning, making a couple decisions. Messiah will go ahead and crack open this area by mining. He's got one over towards 90, and Tun will look for the challenge. The Cade barely makes it around the corner, but at 100 HP, it's no losses for Yeti.
UTSA has full control of train. This is excellent. If you bring over your Habana goat people, well, you can create a line of sight into the bomb site and potentially go for a plant. You also have a sledgehammer to open up the south side, and here comes the foot level holes. We talked about this earlier. This is either going to be a killing floor for the defense of the prone angle, or it's going to be a killing floor for UTSA, because holes work both ways. The opening kill in favor of UTSA, that actually might be what the doctor needed for UTSA. They might be able to go for a plant relatively soon.
It's a little delayed, but at least it happens eventually. Messiah maintaining the 90 pressure. They know exactly where the smoke is, and TB will backpedal into a stream of bullets, striding onto Yeti. In the meanwhile, it's Kyle Pog left against 5, 2 complete opposites in terms of these attacking rounds, but the Jaeger will slip in, and he stops the plant. Now, with only 25 seconds, they will need to recover the diffuser. And Kyle Pog, all he needs to do is continue to play from the sneak position, but when you need somebody killed, send in the man to do it. Tun will get the job done, no questions asked.
What a beautiful attack, and an even more beautiful flank there in the end. I liked what UTSA did. They were a bit slow for my taste on the top floor, but you know what? Once they realized that we don't need vertical, we can go straight into train, they saw the writing on the wall, and they went straight for their executes. And once you start to incorporate Matcha and their 2 opening kills, it was perfect for UTSA, because UNCC just was not prepared for that level of aggression, that level of flank watch on the new drop balcony. That's something that UNCC needs to be more prepared for the next time that they see that bomb site. Next time Reading Room is brought back, because Reese, what UTSA did there was pretty common, especially Matcha. I mean, how often do you see an attacker on the new drop? Pretty much every single Reading Room round.
And it wasn't like they really, forced any kind of serious pressure on UNCC. All they did was just rotate and started to apply pressure from train, and the top floor defenders sort of just went haywire, sort of thinking, okay, now we've got pressure from train, they might just come in and plant, so I'm going to just go run out into pillar. I think it probably would have worked out better if they just maybe made the safer call to rotate below, try to come up from red. Either way, UNCC crumbled when they should have just pulled taut and closed down that round. They allow UTSA to pick up another and now step on to the threshold of match point. Seeing what happened on reading, they don't want to go there again. We're going to try kitchen, and this will be such a crucial test for the Roadrunners. They had trouble on the top floor. They were slow on the top. They were kind of slow on that second attack there as well. If they can increase the pace while keeping that same ferocity, while keeping on top of those mid-round kills like Matcha did last round, this should be an easy bag.
I thought Tom was just going to rush, just like UNCC did one of the times that we saw Kitchen, the last time that we saw Kitchen, but UTSA is being much more disciplined, and they're going to participate in the utility usage. They're going to dispatch a ton of nades. They want the deployable shield, and then by proxy, they want to remove the player behind that deployable shield. Rogue has no escape route. They're calling in for a shotgun to make an avenue back into sight, but it doesn't work for them. And now you have a huge liability if you're a fan of UNCC. You have a giant opening in the wall. The reinforcement happens, and Link is shot dead. Yet he's able to swing, though, going for the trade. But once again, the heart breach technically has already been done because the wall was never reinforced. UTSA has put themselves in an excellent position, and they still have so much time to work with. 100 seconds, in fact.
Got all the necessary tools to execute. That being said, UNCC, they're not down and out. They've got Yeti on the long angle, rising to the occasion. Stridon will put an end to the Smoke's position, and Matcha again catching TB in the cut. Only the Echo left inside of Dishes, and the Zofia will make quick work of him. A decisive result on the kitchen offense. And now UTSA have arrived on match point.
Back to bar, though. That's a saving grace for UNCC, Reese, because we're going to a bomb site that UNCC won flawlessly. The mistakes that they had on kitchen were just disjointed, discombobulated. They being UNCC, had good utility over by Bakery, but it wasn't enough. They tried to panic, make a rotation, was a little bit too late. Link tries to undo that through a reinforcement. They end up losing their life. It was a calamity of errors, but again, UNCC gets go back to the bomb site that they were flawless on because they wasted nearly 2 minutes for absolute free. That was Rogue on Lord Tachanka, and they're back, baby.
They really have to kind of hurry up a little bit. We've already beat this topic to death, so I'll only linger on it for a brief moment here. The offense need to work different angles of pressure. They must be more dynamic. If they do that, if they've got players moving in from ticket, shop, and on either the White Hall rappel or the White Stairs rappel, they should be able to deal with this Tachanka strategy just by throwing in flashes and blowing him up. Not allowing him to play in pixel. It's not complicated. It's a basic concept on the most played objective on this map. So as soon as we see that figured out, the Tachanka should be a goner, and UTSA should be able to move forward. With that being said, UNCC, how are they going to respond to that? Are they going to try to play more aggressive? Are they going to use a C4 below? With Yeti being the guy that's got the Nitro, I wouldn't really expect that.
What's the likelihood of UTSA saying, you know what? I'm so terrified of Lord Tachanka challenging us to the west that we see the OG execute, or we see an east window repel, and a push in from reading room with grenades and utility from below. Well, I think I answered my own question, Reese. It's going to be very low because UTSA is on the other side of the map using another set of windows. So sadly, we're not going to see that. But honestly, that's something that a lot of teams kind of forget about, the power of the utility beneath in Cocktail. And also, more importantly, why on earth would you want to pressure Lord Tachanka? The entire defense of UNCC is set to the west. So why not push somewhere else?
I don't know. That's a good question. You would need the buck, realistically, to try that. Now you've got the wall being opened at red. Things are a little better. You haven't lost one to a Tachanka swinging out into the middle of piano. Now you've dealt with an Evil Eye as well. Less intel for the Tachanka to operate off of. Still do have Yeti lurking below. And so that possibility of the late Nitro cell does open up once again. Here's hoping that UTSA either have somebody down there or maybe there's a drone monitoring it as well, because Yeti will very likely be the ace in the hole when it comes to if UTSA are going to get control of this bar area or not.
Slow again for UTSA. Link finds the opening kill, and that's striding off the board. Wow, Matcha's trade is impeccable. Perfect headshot for them. And you know what? They've just identified the deployable shield, and this might be an avenue to go into sight. An air jab to burn the ADS, but it's a call for Messiah to actually go for the swing. They take the opportunity, the deployable shield players off the board, and now it's actually potentially an opportunity for UTSA to go for a plan. Perfect coverage everywhere for UTSA, and they're starting to go for the hunting pack. The Roadrunners want some kills, and it's somehow Rogue able to find the trade, and a second one for them.
Oh my god, it's chaos in the objective. 1-on-2 for Yeti with the bomb down. Zyra and Messiah, two of the most fearsome members of this team. 25 seconds, and the diffuser. Now recovered, Zyra will slink into the corner. Yeti on terribly low HP, and it's gonna be a loud one. It's gonna be a raucous transition across the site. Messiah will put Yeti away, and the Roadrunners eliminate the Niners from the qualifying tournament to the Unified Collegiate Championship. They are moving on to the round of 8.
Wow, well done to UTSA. A dominant map number 1, and then an almost more dominant Cafe. They come together as a unit, and they just click heads. It's simply a roster that gets angry, they get heated up, and they win gunfights. They devolve into chaos, and there's just nothing that UNCC could have done to have shut down the plays of Tun and company.
It was a surprise, honestly, that things ended up going to the third map. I predicted that Villa was going to be a pretty close game. The substitute situation kind of made this one a little strange tonight. We had Angel, and then we got on a map number 2. Anyway, things finished out. We had a close one. We got into overtime, but unfortunately, it's the end of the road. And just like the University of North Carolina, Charlotte were eliminated first round in the R6 Collegiate Championship. They suffered the same fate here in the wild card.
That's a heartbreaking thing to hear. They played well. They looked great. We talked about their nitro cells. We talked about their bar defense. Honestly, I think that round 7 bar defense that UNCC won was probably the best defense of the night. Their ability to just waste time is an asset that they can use next semester. Unfortunate, their collegiate run this academic year is over, but once they start to iron out a few of the mistakes that they're making against very aggressive teams, I think there's somebody that they're a roster that could be in contention for an easy, cool top 25 spot.
Yeah, and we don't know what the next semester is going to look like for Collegiate Rainbow Six Siege as well. Things could be totally different, but we've got the Summer League for Collegiate R6 that's still going to be played, and I think a lot of people will be watching we'll be watching the Niners to see how they're going to move into the offseason. Will they make any roster moves? Are things going to be relatively the same? Because they perform well through the regular season. They got to this point. They got enough UCC points to make the wild card. Unfortunately, they faced a fearsome opponent round number 1. They just had to deal with Tun on the server, and he dropped something in the range of 60 kills. He was just felt like invincible some rounds.
He was. He most certainly was. I mean, 23 on Villa alone. I mean, the dude was putting up numbers. The dude was putting up work. And it was, again, a hard-fought victory. Now, I know that we were singing the praises of Toon all day, but truly on map 1, while Toon was in double digits, everybody else on the roster was doing their job or very close to it. Reese, though, my friend, it's time for an interview. We're going to find a representative, our UTSA, and of course, it's going to be the GOAT, the juggernaut themselves. Tun, my friend. What an incredible series. I mean, how do you do it, bro? How do you collect so many heads?
I don't know. It's just a lot of time spent playing, I guess. Not a good thing, I would say.
It was a good thing today, though. And first off, I want to address the substitute situation. Tell me about the teammate rotation that you had going, because we were through a loop when we saw it.
Yeah, I mean, Angel was supposed to play at least 2 maps, but then he had like an IRL situation, so we can't fault him for that. And then, honestly, like I have to give a big shout out to Jazz and Goat people for being able to like just step in, step out, shuffle around like that. Like Zai as well, being able to swoop in at the end, because it was like honestly, due to some rule booking stuff, we couldn't really tell. So I was able to play,
Mhm.
but he honestly came in clutch at the end there.
So you just shouted out goat people. Are they a substitute as well?
Yes. Well, actually, I guess technically since our last player graduated, they're now a full-time player, but still learning the
Well,
ropes. So
congrats on the
big shout
promotion,
out to
goat
Goat.
people.
Big shout out to Goat.
So what is it? So how do you orchestrate a team that is constantly evolving? You talked about the, how your substitutes are stepping in, but how does the IGL actually make that work? Because I imagine you guys are well versed in your drive runs and your strats, and now you're bringing in people who potentially might not know the strats.
Yeah, I guess that plays like our ability to like pick up the strats really fast and like teach like all our new players the strats and at least like because obviously they don't always know who they're subbing out for. So being able to be like
Mhm.
flexible in terms of our setups, our strats is like super important to the way we play. So like it's funny how like by being flexible in that sense, we're actually not really flexible in our takes because we have to like we have to set up a routine so that everyone can learn that
Mhm.
routine and just hop in, hop out. You know?
So before I pass it over to Reese, does that routine that you're talking about, is that why both you and your opponents, UNCC, elected to go to Aviator Games twice, or pardon me, 8 times on Villa, 8 out of the 15 rounds?
Honestly, I think at that point we were just feeling that site. We didn't go trophy stat. I don't think once the entire time we were
You did
there.
not.
So like yeah, I think it just got to a point where it was more about the emotion than than the brains behind it. We're just playing to our cards. We won this before. We can win it again. Something.
Reese, my friend.
All right. Well, all seriousness, you guys face probably going to be Arizona State in the next round. That quarterfinals match is pretty much a given at this point. What's your expectation of them? A Western Conference school. Have you got any previous experience playing them before?
Honestly, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Not too in it right there, but like I'm just excited. I love playing the collegiate games and like just
I
continuing
suppose.
forward, especially in like something like this. Sorry.
Mhm. All right. Well, for the UCC, then, we've got pretty much the top schools from across the country. Is there any one of them that you're most excited to play?
uh, I really want to play Akron again. We won a BO1 against them, and we got so hyped, and then we lost a best of 3 against them. We are so sad. But like, I don't know. They're not all that they seem. I don't think they're all that crazy. We can still get them. We can
Woo!
All right. Well, fighting words. Okay. Well, things are getting a little spicy there. We're going to look forward to that match in the UCC. But before we let you go, your opportunity to take the stage and give any shout outs to anyone that allowed you to make it here and keeps you playing every day.
Shout out to my girlfriend. Shout out to Stryden. Shout out to I met on Akron, and that's basically it.
All right. Well, fun talking to you. Congratulations on another monster game. I'm sure there is more of that later down the line in the rest of the circuit, but we'll let you go celebrate with your teams. Have a good rest of your day, man.
Cheers,
You
bud.
too. Adios, y'all.
All right.
What a phenomenal. What a phenomenal
that
interview. What a
was
phenomenal
just-
day.
I honestly, like, the way that this game played out was not really to my expectation. I hadn't had a lot of opportunities to cast the Niners before. I've seen UTSA on a couple different occasions, but the Ton Show delivered. On the other side, the Niners have lots of potential and plenty of footage from today to VOD review.
You mean the Messiah of Rainbow Six Siege, not Tom, promoted to the true Messiah of Rainbow Six Siege. All hail,
course.
bow down to them.
Well, with that being said, we're done for the evening, but we are not done. There is more wildcard tournament games left to play, and we'll be back at the same time, 7 p.m. EST tomorrow. Make sure you tune in then. And as well, later in the month, we've got the rest of the Unified Collegiate Championship, a $20,000 16-team single elimination event that you won't want to miss. But with that being said, we're done for the night. I'd like to thank Chief for coming on here tonight with me. We had another fantastic broadcast and things were enjoyable. A great game. To our production folks behind the scenes, our observer Kazrep, our producer Tango Mango Down, from all of us here at R6CC saying so long. We'll see you tomorrow night.